They added another group of people to the inclusivity flag. Andrew Tate was officially charged, and the Olympic Committee in Paris is under investigation. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan is trying to donate money to host a debate between RFK Jr. and Dr. Peter Hotez. We'll be talking about all that and, of course, more today. Welcome back to Do You Really Mean That Live? My name is Olivia, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Chris.
Hi, Olivia. How you doing today?
I got my headphone in here, but things are good. Our producer, and then Derek is back. So we're grateful for that, to have a better setup today with Derek here. So
Yeah, hopefully it looks normal.
Yeah.
Judging from the messages you sent me last night, you've got some things to say about one of these topics.
Yeah, the first one. We're going to jump into that. But before we do, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And, of course, hit that notification bell. Wow, can't speak. So that you will never miss a live show or a new episode. And, of course, if you guys want to super chat us throughout the show, we do not have that capability yet. But you can find us at PayPal at DYRMT Podcast. And anything over $5, we will stop the show, interrupt, and say it, whatever it might be, and respond and try as quickly to get back on topic as possible. So with all of that being said, we're going to jump right into our first topic today. They added a new group of people to the inclusivity flag. Now, this is the person who created the original inclusivity or intersex inclusive pride flag, whatever they call it. We have a tweet here from that person whose name is Valentino, I believe, saying, Valentino Vecchetti. I'm guessing this person is Italian.
There's a chance.
There's a chance. Happy hashtag Autistic Pride Day. I've created this intersex inclusive pride flag version with the rainbow color infinity symbol to recognize the broad and varied experiences of those with neurodiversity who wish to feel visible and included in our pride flag. Now, first of all, I'm just going to say that this looks like a joke. That's going to be my first thing, right? Like, that just looks fake. It does not look real at all. And they say, like, we hope to bring you joy in this pride season as they continue on. I'm happy to freely share the flag, blah, blah, blah. I created this version of my flag simply as an offering to those who wish for it. Now, I have many problems with this. First being that people who know me know that autism runs in my family, and I have close family members to me that are diagnosed with autism. I didn't ask to be included in this flag. I mean, there's tons of people online who have said, I never asked for this. Please don't include me. And it's just wrong. I mean, like, seriously, like, to put autistic people in that same, like...
Can you choose to be autistic, Olivia?
No, but apparently you can't choose to be gay either, so...
Oh, that's right.
That's what they've told me, at least. I mean, you know, I'm not included because I'm straight and I'm white, and so it doesn't matter. You know, I don't matter to them. But I do, you know, like, you're born with autism, and it's not like it's something that adds to your life. In fact, a lot of people are not prideful when it comes to that. But yeah, I have a big problem with it having family members who are autistic and stuff like that. I also have a problem with people who they use it. You know, they're using it. This is like a vulnerable population, and they're like, oh, okay, well, we're just gonna use, you know, autistic pride. I've never met someone who's been like, I'm autistic and I'm proud. Like, people have been like, oh, like, I'm proud to represent my community, but I've never seen anybody be like, I'm proud to be autistic, baby. I choose that every day. I've never known anyone to do that, and I have quite a bit of experience with people who have autism.
The way they're going eventually, this flag is going to have a version that includes literally everyone except for me because I'm a white male, and we can't have that, you know. But you know, at what point do people look at this and say, okay, enough is enough? Why call it the inclusivity flag if you're not including everyone in the first place right from the start? Mm-hmm. And second, why do you need to do that if you're going to include everybody? Can't you just take an already existing symbol and say, this represents everybody? You know, maybe like the American flag, it represents everyone here.
Sure. And like for me, I guess the biggest problem is like not only do I have like deep issues with this being like a Pride Month thing, if anything, I guess I would want to talk about maybe like Autism Awareness Month, which is in April for those who don't know, and
Right.
Autism Awareness Day is April 2nd. But like those things make sense. You're raising awareness for this because it is something that they can't just turn on and off when they want to, despite what people might think about those who have autism. I mean, again, like I make a lot of jokes about stuff like this, but I do actually have family members who obviously are autistic, and um, it's not something they're particularly, happy about.
I mean,
This
and
flag, and the flag is ugly. I'm sorry, but like Derek created a better one in 5 minutes with my cat on it. Like that's sad that can happen. Like,
based on the people I have met with autism in that community, I mean, they're not necessarily ashamed of being autistic. They're accepting of it, for the most part, and they want to be accepted by everybody. But
mhm.
they don't look at this and go, "I'm part of this."
Well, and the thing is, too, is like, I can't believe that they've gone to this point where they really think, like, do you know how many people have been misdiagnosed as, like, trans or whatever, and they're actually suffering from autism? Because
Yeah,
I've seen these stories. And so it's like, you're really saying the quiet part out loud by saying, well, sure, you can be both then. You're not just trans, you're autistic. You're not just autistic, you can also be trans. Totally discounting the fact that that's not actually how these things work. Like,
correct. You know, again, at some point, someone's going to have to realize the utter ridiculousness that adding to this flag every year for every possible group and person out there is, one, an impossible thing to do, and then two, it just becomes stupid at that point.
but we do say it and they don't care. That's the thing, is until someone within their own community actually says something and they don't because they're stupid, when people like myself or you would say, hey, this isn't right, they're like, wrong. That's where you're wrong. Like, no, I'm not wrong. I'm not, I haven't studied this extensively or anything, talking about, autism in general, but I grew up with a lot of people around me. And I have a sibling that has autism, and my best friend has a sibling who has autism. To say that I'm, familiar with it is an understatement. I have, other family members that also are autistic, and I used to work with autistic kids. So,
So, the person who created this flag, I'm not going to try to pronounce their name because I will get it wrong. What prompted them to do so? Were they asked?
no,
Was
I
this
don't
just
think so.
because
It doesn't look like it. They
they,
said they just created it.
they were just bored one day and said, "Hey, we need to add this to the flag"? I mean,
I don't know where they got that from. I really don't. Like I wish I did. I wish I could have like it feels like a troll, and it's so painfully not a troll, but it feels that way. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely. I'm on the internet quite a bit. I'm well aware what being trolled feels like. It's
but
like they're trying to. It's like they're trying to rope us in, literally rope us in to get us to talk about it. So they can say, "No, we're just playing. We wanted your reaction."
yeah, you want it to be fake. You want it to be fake. It's
I
not. It's
I
not.
wish it was.
I'm so blown away by it. It's, and again, I'm one of those people who never gets like offended by anything. And then I'm like, why do I find like I don't have autism, but knowing and loving people who do.
Well, I want to be offended for the people that this is supposed to represent that didn't want it. But again, that's
Yeah,
a problem because I can't be offended for them.
right. Because I constantly complain about how people are like, they're like, oh, like, how can you be offended by something that someone else is doing, whatever. I don't I don't know. For me, that's just like something that I've always kind of criticized them for, so I'm not going to do the same thing. But
Exactly.
as someone who has, a lot of experience in this, this thing, I am a bit offended on, not on their behalf, I guess just in general. I don't have autism, but I have enough experience with those who do that I think I have a right to be a bit offended by it. Because they're not like, aha, I am so proud. And first of all, why are we including all these things in a flag about sexuality?
Well, that's a very good question, Olivia. Because they wanted to include all things all the time. So that way it downplays that sexuality portion of it. So that way people seeing the pride flag all over the world where they try to adopt these places, the Middle East, for example, no longer views it as such a thing where it's about this. No, it's about including all people regardless.
Right. And it's just, yeah, it's rough. I am, I don't know. I don't like this entire narrative that they're pushing. And but yeah, it's definitely something that should not be there, but it is, and I don't know how they think this is. I don't get it. And the more I think about it, the more angry I get. And so
I would love to, and both would love and hate to do this, but actually show it to somebody who's part of that community and let them shout about it. Say, no, this isn't right. Because coming from them, I mean, you would think that makes sense, right? But I don't want to show it to them if they haven't seen it.
Yeah. I don't want to bring it up either. I don't want, especially people who are embarrassed of their autism, I don't want to bring it up. I don't want to be like, haha, what's your opinion? Despite the fact that you're talking about it. No, not at all. So that is the newest iteration, I suppose, that can be adopted at someone's choosing, which, okay, whatever. But, that it is what it is. I don't, I'm going to just... I can't. We live in clown world, guys. We live in clown world. I'm just saying. But speaking of clown world, we have a story about Andrew Tate, Chris, if you want to go ahead and jump right into that.
Yeah. It seems like a story we should have seen several months ago when they actually had him arrested. But, it just took him a few extra months, guys. From the Daily Wire, Andrew Tate charged with human trafficking and the R word. Sorry, we just can't say the actual word. We just can't. YouTube has an issue with that, even when you're talking about the story. Viral internet personality Andrew Tate has been indicted by a Romanian court on charges of the R word, human trafficking, and forming an organized crime ring to sexually exploit women. Andrew and his brother Tristan Tate were arrested alongside two Romanian women, their alleged co-conspirators, in December 2022, and then were subsequently released from prison and moved to a house arrest in March. Prosecutors allege that the defendants began operating a human trafficking ring in 2021 and lured 7 women into the scheme with the so-called lover boy method, promising marriage or cohabitation and a loving relationship before forcing the women to produce pornography for their business. The women were later transported and housed in buildings in, I don't know where that is, in Romania, where by exercising acts of physical violence and mental coercion through intimidation, constant surveillance control, invoking alleged debts, they were sexually exploited by group members by forcing them to perform demonstrations, or perform pornographic demonstrations. I think I found a typo. In order to produce and disseminate through some social media platforms, the indictment alleges. And this was the one quote I want to put in here. The indictment also alleges that one of the defendants repeatedly R-worded one of their victims in March of 2022. So they seem to have some evidence here. Olivia, I don't know about you. I think I know pretty well. I want to say I hate that Andrew Tate has the platform he has I think it's abhorrent what he's done to an entire generation of young men who actually believe the things he says and want to be like him.
Yeah.
Most of what he says is nothing but manipulation and, for lack of a better term, hypnotizing people into believing what he says is actually what masculinity is all about. And there are some things that he has said that, okay, fine. And those are the things you find in the very short clips that circulate YouTube and the other social media platforms. But by and large, the things he says should not be said, and nobody should be listening to this guy.
Yeah, no, I entirely agree. I mean, I'll be, honest. I'm not a big, and I mean, I've never really followed Andrew Tate. I don't really know like a lot about him and his brother. I do think that these charges came at kind of a weird time, and that they didn't do it like months ago, and that two of the women who were, alleging these things also were bragging that
Yeah.
they lied about it. And so, as much as I might not like Andrew Tate as a person, I still don't think he deserves to be brought up on charges that are coming from false allegations. I have a very personal disdain for false allegations. And so that's my problem there, is that when you have false allegations and you're not being tried in a court like America, where you have something more corrupt like a Romanian court system, I have a problem with that. So like I will never defend Andrew Tate for like things he has said or done, but like I will defend that he should not be brought up on charges under the law when there's people being like, aha, we lied, and like now we're gonna get money. Like that's so messed up to admit that.
Yeah. And
And that's my problem. I don't like Andrew Tate, but it would be the same thing as if someone like Nick Fuentes was brought to a court based on that false allegations, and I'm like, I don't like you, but I also don't like false allegations more. Like,
yeah.
you might say crappy things, but it doesn't mean you're a criminal. You're just stupid. Like,
Well, I mean, this article goes on to say, quoting Tate specifically, the case that has been put against me is completely and utterly fabricated. He said this in an interview with the BBC. I'm never going to be found guilty of anything. I hope that's the case if these are false allegations. I hope he is found guilty if they aren't false allegations. I hope they have evidence to back up their
right.
claims
Mhm.
that he has actually done something wrong.
And I agree.
He goes on to say, you can't slander me because I will state right now, I'm absolutely sexist, I'm absolutely misogynist, and I have fuck you money. And you can't take that away. Except if they do convict him, they do get to take that away.
Yeah.
And that's the problem if it's false. I agree with you 100% there. I don't want to see anyone brought up on false charges, but if he's actually done the things that they are alleging he has done, I want him to have his day in court. I want him to prove his case or have the prosecutors prove theirs. Ultimately, that's what we all want here in the U.S. I hope that kind of is how it works elsewhere. We do know that that's not always the case, but that's what I think. As far as the things he says and tells people,
Yeah. Again, I have problems with false charges. That's my biggest beef here, is that people have two women have admitted to it, and yet they're still bringing charges. So hopefully they have other evidence other than this, or
Olivia,
right. You're not going to charge
Olivia,
me.
believe all women. Me
No.
too. Remember?
No, absolutely not. I mean,
Because women would never lie. They would never
yeah,
do.
okay, well, you can tell that to someone I personally know who's currently facing, I'm not going to say much because it's not going case. But you can say that to one of my best friends who's currently battling this right now, because if you're going to make a false allegation, at least make it believable, is all I'm going to say on that topic. Don't walk around after it, be like, ha ha, got him. No, it's literally so stupid. God, and I don't even like Andrew Tate. I'm defending him right now, and I don't even like the guy. But it's more on behalf of like anyone who's been a victim of a false allegation. He just happens to be there. I am very like, I just find it so abhorrent, and women know that they can get away with it, which is even worse. It's like, why would you like
Because
you know you can get away with it, so you're doing it because you're a woman, and I have a problem with that. This is the exact problem with empowering women to the point where they think that they can just do anything and get away with it. It's so annoying. This is why I'm such an anti-feminist, because feminism has created false allegations, and I have a problem with that, and it's made it more widespread.
Absolutely.
So,
While causing it to downplay the actual cases where it does happen. You know,
exactly.
It makes them lost in the noise. It makes those women not want to come forward because they believe that, you know, because all these other women have cried wolf, as it were, nobody's going to believe what they have to say when it happened to them. They're going to think that, oh, this is just another case. And we see that with other things, but I mean, when it comes to this type of situation, absolutely.
Right. And yeah, it's just one of those situations where now I'm sitting here defending Andrew Tate. Not what I needed to do today. But you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is. I can't, it's one of those things where I could go on and I could debate on it forever and ever, and some people just won't understand. And that, you know what? It is what it is. But on the topic of debates, I'd love to get into our next topic because I think this one's very interesting.
Oh, yes.
So Joe Rogan has, obviously, I think everyone has seen the stories, pledged to donate, $100,000 for Dr. Hotez, who is a vaccines doctor or something, who really knows. But he had tweeted and said, Spotify has stopped even sort of trying to stem Joe Rogan's vaccine misinformation. It's really true, blank, just awful. And I don't know who the person is, so it doesn't matter. And from all the online texts I'm receiving, this absurd podcast, it's clear many actually believe this nonsense. And then Rogan said, Peter, if you claim what RFK Jr. is saying is misinformation, I'm offering you $100,000 to the charity of your choice if you're willing to debate him on my show with no time limit. This sparked so much drama. This sparked just crazy amounts of drama. We have it here from the New York Post, if we can get that article pulled up. That Twitter owner Elon Musk had chimed in saying that Hotez must hate charity, which is hilarious to me. Well, Kennedy, who agreed to a respectful, informative debate for the American people, like he's down for it or whatever. Well, since that has blown up, we have had, literally hundreds of people. We have it here from a Twitter account called The Chief Nerd, who is basically outlining all of the people who have said they will donate to charity. So the pool has come over to...
The bottom dollar amount he shows is $1,000. So there's plenty of people below that mark who are also pledging, but that's where he put the cutoff at, which is amazing.
And the charity pot has received over $2.62 million. Speaking of Andrew Tate, he said he would donate $500,000. And there's tons of people. I don't know who this is. Jay Kwan. Okay, Jay Kwan. Wasn't reading it correctly. Said he would donate $777,000. So this goes, there's tons of people we see on the list. We have Tim Pool has said he would donate $100,000. We just have so many people here. 100,000. We have 55,000, 33,000, 10,000, 5,000, 1,000. Just incredible amounts of commitment to this. We have
the problem is with all these people jumping on like this, it virtually guarantees there will be no debate.
But there should be. Why do you hate charity, Chris?
There should be, but it guarantees that all these people are watching closely, and this Dr. Hotez won't do it. He'll be like, no, because he's going to look like an idiot on the debate stage in 10 seconds.
And the thing is, Dr. Peter Hotez came back with, he thought he was being funny. He deleted this tweet since, but he said, "Be serious, Joe. That's what you throw out for your hunting buddies on a weekend, a $50 million endowment, which you, Spotify, RFK Jr. can easily afford, not for me, but so we can continue making low-cost patent-free vaccines for the world's poor. preceded by RFK Jr.'s public apology. Now, what I find very interesting here is he changes the topic and shifts the blame. So instead of being like, okay, like, I'm just going to talk about, yeah, this is the charity I would pick, which is what he should do. He should be like, yes, I would decide to like donate to this charity. Instead, he's like, no, actually, you could help people with that money. He's literally trying to. He's saying, you pick the charity. You pick it. If it's vaccine research, it's vaccine research. But like, he won't even go into the debate because he knows he's going to lose. And I'm not necessarily defending every single thing that RFK Jr. has said because he's very anti-vax. I'm not defending everything he's ever said. But again, I'm kind of arguing in favor of somebody that I don't primarily agree with here. Have that debate. If you're an expert, if you know what you're talking about, then why don't you go debate him and prove that? Prove your point. That's the whole message here. But people are like this doctor, and then people are trying to interview him, outside his house. And not that I agree with these tactics, but it doesn't mean that you're being harassed. He said he's being harassed and stuff. Where a journalist literally went up and was like, why won't you debate him? And shook his hand. They shook hands. And then he's like, I'm being harassed and abused at my own house. Buddy.
Well, I mean, it's absurd. If the science did what they claim it does, it would show that he was right and everyone else is actually supporting misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it would show.
Right.
And that's why a debate would actually happen if that was the case. But if you know what we've learned over the past couple of years about this, and we've seen documented case after case where the vaccine didn't do anything for most people, you still got the virus, you still spread it.
Mm-hmm.
What? It didn't prevent anything.
Right. But he's not just talking about the COVID vaccine. He's also just talking about vaccines in general. RFK is just against vaccines in general. And like
some, yes, I understand, but we used to have a process for vaccines. I mean, I get it. This was an emergency. We had to do something with COVID, on the national stage. But vaccines used to take years to develop and test and prove that they were going to be safe and effective. This had none of that.
Right. And yeah, it had nothing like that. And I mean, he's just unwilling to even debate at this point. And so you have tons of people who are now pledging to donate to charity, which just makes the people like doing this, like the right, I guess, primarily look so much better because they're like, oh, like, we'll do this thing. We'll pledge this amount.
Oh, yeah.
It makes them look so much better, like on our end.
And at the end of the day, they're pledging this, and if a debate happens, they will give that money. I mean, they're not going to back out if suddenly Dr. Hotez says, all right, let's do it. They're actually going to put this money out there, like they said. It will go to that charity that is chosen. And that's part of how we're winning, too. Because they will actually back it up with the money.
Yeah.
But until then, they can throw out whatever number they want, and it still just makes them look good because why are you hiding? Don't you care about charity, Dr. Hotez? Don't you want to advance that research? We're offering you a good chunk of money to do that.
He doesn't actually care, and that's the problem. Is he cares about him looking good and not actually getting the work done and fixing the problem, whatever the problem might be. Like, I remember all these virologists. What are they called? Virologists? I can't say.
Virologist.
That's a hard word for me. Words are hard. I'm also a woman, so it does make it very difficult to you have these people who are like during COVID. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. These people during COVID who were saying, it's the most deadly thing ever, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry, but like I was more scared of H1N1 when I was in school. Some kid in class next to me got it when we were in like fifth or sixth grade. Like, we're all going to die. We were in sixth grade.
Yeah.
We were in sixth grade. I was more scared of that, but I can't. I think he's just a coward.
I mean, when COVID happened, you were, 22-ish?
I think so. It was 21 or 22.
And 2 months into COVID, we knew that COVID primarily didn't impact anyone your age and younger. Hell, we knew that it, for most people, it didn't impact them my age and younger. It was still a concern for me because I have some autoimmune disease stuff going on and whatnot. But largely, I wasn't concerned about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it wasn't concerning.
I talked to my doctor. They reassured me that I should be fine. If there's symptoms, you know, we can develop a plan to handle that. And I went about my life. You were in college.
Yeah.
You went about your life, I assume.
I mean, I did the best I could. I was in college at the time, and so all my classes got moved to virtual. I was almost done with college too. That's like the worst part is I was literally so close to being done with college when this happened, and it felt like all of a sudden my world didn't fall apart, but it changed very fast. I think that adjustment. So like when I went from being with my friends in class every day. Now, I was in DC when the news broke that it was like in America, and it was actually in DC. And I was there with my club at the time, and we were all like, okay, what do we do? So we just go back to Michigan. So we're like, I don't know what else we're supposed to do. So we go back and
start walking.
I mean, we're stuck in this like passenger van, and there was like 15 of us, and we're all stuck in this passenger van together. So that was great. But yeah, it was, man, I mean, I just remember it being absolutely like, I don't know. I wasn't that scared, I guess. I wasn't scared of it. The disturbance in my life and the disturbance in like having to switch to online classes, and every professor that I had was like over the age of like 50. That was more difficult for me and my professors than it was for, I think, actually like being worried about the virus and stuff. I wasn't that concerned until people were like,
Yeah, it's here, you know, and right. That's, I mean, we didn't have any actual cases here until middle of the summer that year. So, I mean,
we had quite a few actually.
Yeah, so it wasn't terribly concerning to me until it was late in 2020 where, okay, now I have to really actually think about this. But at that point, I mean, Pfizer had announced that they had their vaccine. We didn't know that it wasn't going to be as effective as they claimed it would be, but you know, they announced that, so that was a good thing coming on the horizon. And realistically, we could have been done and past COVID far sooner had they just actually let the real information come out about it. If they would have actually started doing real studies right away and capturing the data that they could and crowdsource that. I mean, that's some of the easiest things you can do. And they chose not to. They instead chose to, what was it? 2020 was the year where nobody died of anything other than COVID.
Something like that, right?
Yeah, hospitals were incentivized to say this person had COVID. He got into a motorcycle accident and died, but he had COVID, and now give us money. And that was the real problem I had at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So bring it back to our actual topic here. I want to see this debate because I want to see how you justify what was done, how it was done, and why we were kept in the dark about things, and why we silenced other virologists, other doctors who were studying this and said, no, here's what we can do. And here's what I have seen from my personal experience has worked as a treatment. I mean, remember, we didn't start having treatments other than the vaccine until, what was it, middle to end of 2022?
Something like that.
I mean, my God, I would have thought that would have been the first thing we would have thought to do once we knew that, hey, these companies have a promising path forward for a vaccine. all right, all these other companies, let's get something out now that can treat the people that are getting this.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree entirely. I guess I'm just really sick of the COVID talk to begin with. I'm just sick of it to begin with, to be honest with you. I'm just, like, I feel like we've talked so much about 2020 and COVID and everything. And so it's one of those things where, yes, John, I agree in chat there. Sorry, I'm looking.
It's the year that's never going to end.
Well, and it's that big pharmaceutical money. The big pharma industry wants that money. And I'm not going to get on my fucking soapbox right now and go off about big pharma.
I used to work for big pharma.
Yeah, I know you're the problem. So I definitely just don't get why it's just really corrupt. And again, I'm going to use that to transition here because that was a really good one. That was good. I'm going to acknowledge that one. But
Right.
Corruption exists in so many industries, and we even see this with the International Olympic Committee in our next story here. Paris 2024 Olympic offices were raided by police, and so we have it here from Politico. French financial police Tuesday morning searched the headquarters of Paris 2024 Olympics as part of an investigation into the awarding of public contracts. In an internal email to staff seen by Politico, the organizing committee said searches were carried out by teams from the criminal police and the public prosecutor who are collecting documents. This isn't the first time that corruption has existed or the bidding has gone to certain people. I've actually kind of heard about these things before. So in different Olympics, right? Well, I feel like didn't Paris have the Olympics like not that long ago, and then London also had that same thing where they had the Olympics within like the same like decade. Like that was super weird. And so I think obviously there's corruption somewhere, and that's going to be corruption at the highest levels and the lowest levels. So you're going to see corruption when you have what city gets to host it. And then you're going to see corruption when it comes to, okay, well, obviously the government's going to favor certain companies building these things and getting the money for it and building the infrastructure. And I don't know why they don't just reuse the old Olympic stadiums and just like upkeep them. I think that's also really ridiculous when you have, and I don't know, maybe there's a difference with the summer and winter. I know that we have, I believe, Summer Olympics coming up next year. Summer or winter, I really don't remember, actually. I used to know this like pretty well.
I think we're up for Summer Olympics this time because
I think it's.
We had winter the last time, I thought.
Yeah, but it was weird because of COVID, and like 2022 was still like
Yes.
a weird year for it. It was in Russia, Sochi? No, that was a long time ago. Where was it? South Korea? Was it in South Korea?
Japan or China?
China. It may have been in China.
Might have been.
It was in China. Beijing, correct. So, yeah, I
don't follow the Olympics. The athletes,
I used to.
I commend them. I mean, they're talented at what they do. I'd love to see more. It's just I don't watch a lot of sports in general because I prefer to be there doing it as opposed to just watching it. And I can't do what most of those people do in their events. So it's weird.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, I've always liked the Olympics. I think I really liked it when I was younger because I had this game. My brother had this game. I'm sorry, but I played this game with my brother like exclusively. It was like the Mario and Sonic crossover, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games or whatever it was. Yeah. And I was so good at the figure skating, so it's like the only one I would do. They had like multiple versions of it, and then I was really into the Olympics because of that. I remember one year we went on vacation. We went to where did we go to? We went to Myrtle Beach, and they had the Olympics on the TV. I think this is when they were in London one year, and we were absolutely obsessed with it. Yeah, it was definitely a big big deal back then. I don't know if maybe as a kid it was more like mystical to me and like, whoa, these people do really cool sports. But then I started learning about like past Olympics, and I guess that's something that I also like with the corruption in past Olympics, or you know, there was literally terrorist attacks in other Olympics, which is interesting. I mean, that was in Berlin. There was that one issue with the I can't remember, the Israeli team, I believe, and then there were terrorists that came in and they ended up holding them hostage. It was in 78, I believe. Munich, it was Munich. It was in Germany though, and it was in 1978, and yeah, I mean, the Olympics has always been kind of shrouded with corruption, and I think it was meant to be this big thing. It was meant to be this big, like, this interesting and kind of like, wow, you know, we're watching this giant, like this world thing on this world stage. I thought that was super, you know, cool as a kid. And I don't know if it's kind of like one of those things where when you're younger, you get super like into, I don't know. When I was younger, it was much more interesting to me. Now I just see a bunch of people competing, and I think it's good for, I think it's good for the the international community, but I don't think it's good for the I don't know. I think it's too much corruption, too much money. There's money laundering. There's got to be, right? I mean, come on. Like, you don't have a big... You don't.
I like the idea of the Olympics. I like the internet competition. I like that everyone gets to bring their own thing and compete on their terms, do what they want to do. But so much of it's become political, too. So much has become corrupt. And I can't say that there's a solution for it, because, I mean, if you can't see it happening as it's happening, which in this case, it looks like we are seeing that, thankfully, in real time, how do you stop it? How do you make sure, put up safeguards to prevent it?
And that's a question without an answer, right? Because when you have, I mean, this goes for big international overarching anything, really. Like, I think that like a one world government is the most terrifying thing that could happen to this entire society. And that's why when you see these things, you see like the international government, you see a one world government, it's going to happen. You're going to have bad actors who come in, but when it's authoritarian and you just have this one group of international rich people, basically, you're kind of screwed. And there's going to be corruption, and there's really nothing you can do about it. And so you bring, you know, the best to the Olympics. Do you really? Because, I mean, I knew someone who was in like Junior Olympics back in the day. She went to the Netherlands and whatever, and she was very talented, but she said that she didn't really want to go to the Olympics because there was too much like inside baseball. And I was like, I don't really understand that. When I was younger, I was probably, when she went, I was younger, and I don't remember entirely. She said something about like she didn't like the way it was handled and the inside baseball of it. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I really didn't think that much of it, but now that I'm older and reflecting on that, I'm like, damn, okay, like
it does.
That kind of makes more sense.
It does always seem like, and the media tries to downplay this a little bit, it always does seem like there's a clear favorite that's supposed to win in each games, you know, and each event, you know, and maybe it's the up and coming person that has been coming on for the past, you know, 2 or 3 cycles. Maybe it's, you know, the veteran that this is going to be their last game, you know, opportunity to go out on top. But it always seems like they have it scripted in advance. This is the person that's going to win. So let's just talk about it ahead of time. Like, that's what we want to have happen.
Right. Yeah. I think it is like that. I kind of think that about a lot of sports things, so whatever. I'm also, you know, like, I low-key believe in some conspiracies. Not all of them. Don't worry, not like crazy, you know. But yeah.
I'm convinced with professional sports, the playoff system is guaranteed to take us to game 7 every time. Just because there's more money involved if you run it out that long every time.
Right. And it did start, I mean, to be fair, when it started in Athens, it started as, you know, an actual, like, just people coming together to play sports and do things. And even some crazy Olympic events, too. Like, it's absolutely insane. But Honestly, I mean, I'm not surprised there's corruption, but I'm surprised that within a year of it occurring, that they're now rating them and deciding to like look at the documents like it's going to do anything. You can't build an Olympic stadium in a year. And so you're kind of screwing over Paris. I mean, it's good to look into these things, of course, but what is that going to change for the Olympics now? I'm just like curious how that's going to like change the Olympics coming up next year. I don't get it.
Honestly, I don't know what it's going to do. I don't know how it's going to change it. I can't believe it. They're going to make it any less safe, for the participants. I can't imagine they're going to allow certain things to, corrupt or make it less safe for people participating, make it so we're endangering our own athletes or any of the other nations' athletes. But
right.
there will be still corners that are cut. It may not be as nice as what it was imagined to be, slap a nice new coat of paint on it, and say, look, it's pretty. It's not the design elements we wanted, but it's pretty, right?
Right. And yeah. Yeah, I just, I think that the corruption stems a lot deeper than we probably realize. But that goes for every major institution. And I've always said I don't trust any institutions because any institution you have is going to be, corrupt in some capacity. Institutions are not made to not be corrupt. And so that is, I mean, it is what it is, It's interesting to see where this is going to go. Also, I'm just going to, because we talked about it yesterday, share an update on the sub that went missing in the ocean. They've searched, I think, something like 7,000 square miles, and they haven't found anything. They've got about 50 hours of oxygen left, but they're saying at this point that even if they find them, it's going to be hard to rescue the people. So really, at this point, we're looking at where is this wreckage going to be, and how are we going to get bodies out? Because they basically have a death sentence now, and it's very, very sad.
It's one of those things that looking at it, you think about it and go, is it the type of accident they had something where you want them to have that 96 hours, or would you prefer to know that it was done and over with quickly?
Honestly, I
mean, I can't imagine being down there and
knowing
and being stranded and knowing, okay, I have 96 hours of oxygen and we're ticking down hour by hour, and knowing that at a certain point there is nothing that is going to be done that's going to make this better for you.
That sounds like my worst nightmare. Seriously, it does. It sounds like my worst nightmare. I don't think I would be able to. I don't know how I'd survive that. I don't think I would. I think it would drive me crazy. I mean, even thinking about it spikes my anxiety, like being in that situation.
So I was looking more into this, and okay, so this is a tourism thing. I mean, they charge $250,000 to go on this tour of the wreckage. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like they've done this before. I mean, how do they know that it's safe to do so? What was tested to prove that this was going to be still good for another mission? Don't they have pre-checks that they can do that might indicate a problem?
I mean, but they've done this before. It's not the first time that they've ever done this. And so I don't know what went wrong, and that's what the question is now.
And the problem is, I don't think we're ever going to know. They lost communication. That's a pretty big one. And if something truly actually happened and it was catastrophic and we find wreckage instead of just an intact sub at some point, we're gonna
it depends on how long it is down there before we find it, because eventually it will start to deteriorate. But I mean, maybe just stop touring the Titanic. Maybe just leave it. Maybe just don't, because there's a lot of bad luck, with the whole hitting an iceberg and drowning, or Yeah.
I said it last night. That ship is cursed.
Well,
That
of
ship is
course.
cursed.
The
Everything
unsinkable
we've
ship
done,
that sank is a little. It's going to be
everything we've
cursed.
done about with this ship has been a bad thing. Let it be done. We can find other wreckage now.
Yeah. How about we find other things, I don't know, like that maybe went missing that we haven't found? Because I don't know, why would you want to go and like, that's so sad. I wouldn't be like, oh, I want to go look at, a shipwreck that took the lives of thousands of people like over 100 years ago. I don't understand it. I don't get it. If we really want stuff, we have artifacts from the Titanic. I don't know why we need to go actually see the whole thing. Like, I don't get it. Because you have FU money, so you just do it. Like, I don't get it.
I don't know if you remember this because you would have been pretty young when they started doing it, but they were actually making a Titanic 2, like 2008, 2009.
How do you continue that story?
No, not the movie. We were trying to build a ship and name it the Titanic 2, taking the exact same route. And I'm thinking, how are you going to get people to fill this ship? Because nobody in their right mind would say, hey, it happened 100 years ago. It can't happen again. We have way better technology. No,
Right.
thank you. I am not taking that chance.
Right. No, and yeah, there's just something about it that you just don't want to. You don't want to do it. I can't. It is. Yeah, you can't do that. You're not gonna, recreate the Twin Towers and then, like you're not gonna do that. You might create something kind of in memoriam to it. You might create a building that is supposed to be like similar to that, but you're not going to recreate those specific buildings.
And I don't know why you want to recreate, things like that. I mean, yeah.
I don't agree with it, but they do it, and it's a very weird phenomena. But it is what it is. I just, the situation's sad. The situation's depressing. But unfortunately, guys, we can't stay on too long. I will be on another podcast later tonight, and so I gotta go prepare for that. I will be on Daily Wire and Friends tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And so in about an hour or so here, I will be on with Fear Me, It's Bree, and I will also be on with our favorite guest, Chris Bertman. So that's exciting, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Daily Wire and Friends. You can find them on Twitter. You can find them right here on YouTube. And of course, if you follow me on social media, you can also find the link to the podcast that way. I'll make sure to share it. But before I go ahead and close us out, any final thoughts, Chris or Derek? You haven't talked at all, but if you have any thoughts.
I got no thoughts. I don't got much thinking to do tonight, so
yeah, your brain is pretty empty, so it makes sense. Okay, Chris, any closing thoughts?
No, just go check out Olivia on the Daily Wire Friends podcast. Should be a good show. Olivia always has something interesting to say, and she is with two of our favorite people right now. So before you go, give a like, give a subscribe, hit that notification bell. We are happy to get any support we can, and that tells us that we're doing what you want. That tells us that what we're doing matters to you and that you want to see more of what we're talking about, or it tells us that we need to find something else to talk about. But we are happy to take that suggestion and go with it. So for tonight,
thank you guys.
The last thing I'd say is tune in Saturday. We will have another live show.
2 p.m. We'll also have a show up on Friday.
We will have a show up on Friday, but that probably won't be a live show.
No, it won't be.
So.
But you guys know where to find us, as we always say. Of course, you can support us on Patreon, which we will have in the description below if you want to see exclusive content, including an unhinged... it's not a rant. I just had unhinged behavior before the show today as we were doing show prep, and Derek recorded it. And even when I called him out and was like, "You're recording," he said no. So he tried to gaslight me. I was not gaslit, but I don't care. There's some pretty good things in that. So if you guys want to go support us for $1, $3, or $5 a month, we would absolutely appreciate that on our Patreon. Don't forget to follow us on social media. You can follow our producer, Derek, at Real Derek Menton on Twitter. You can follow me personally at Olivia Claire. 3 A's in Olivia, 2 E's in Claire on both Instagram and Twitter. You can find our podcast at DYRMT podcast on Twitter. And you can also donate to us on PayPal if you don't want to subscribe to our Patreon at DYRMT podcast as well. And other than that, stay updated with us. We appreciate you guys so much. We'll be back with a new show on Friday and a special live on Saturday. And we are so excited for that. I will see you guys later tonight on Daily Wire and Friends podcast. And that is it. Thank you guys so much for your support. And we'll see you later.
All right. Thanks. Bye, everyone.